Welkom terug. Nou Showmax het 'n splinter nuwe reeks Breekpunt en 'n eie Suid-Afrikaanse aktrise van formaat, Lorcia Cooper Kumalo, is een van die sterre van Breekpunt. En ons is selfs vanoggend met haar. Goeiemôre Lorcia.
Goeiemôre Jennifer, hoe gaan dit?
Goed met jou?
Goed, dankie. Dankie vir die show.
Lorcia, it is so nice to have you on the show this morning. It really is brilliant. But before we get to Breekpunt, I want to speak a bit about your dancing and your love for dancing and where dancing started for you. Because who gave you your first dancing shoes?
So my grandmother, when I was 4 years old, my brother was doing ballroom and Latin, and his partner gave up. And my grandmother was simply like, okay, it's no jou turn. Sit die skoene aan, ons moet gaan dans. And that's literally how I got into dance. But then my dance teacher, Debbie Turner, who's the director of Cape Africa Ballet now, used to drive 35 kilometers to fetch me to dance for modern dancing. So I think that for me was what changed my life. I think if she didn't make that sacrifice and that commitment to fetch me from dancing, I would not have had a career in acting, because my plan was never to be an actress. I had dreams of being a professional dancer until I got onto backstage, and I was like, oh, here's something else I could do. And then I think the bug bit, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, it's about dancing that I want to talk more about. We have to speak about the fact that you still teach dancing, and it's still a passion of yours, but the dancing evolved career-wise into the acting thing. Tell us how that happened.
So I was dancing professionally since the age of 18. So I left home at 18. I joined my first professional dance company. Many reasons for that. I think, one, I had a single mom. And for me, it was about how do I alleviate her a bit? How do I take some of the pressure off her? And I think in about grade 11, I started really focusing on just, refining my craft as a dancer. When I got into my first professional dance company, I was 18. I was touring. I was doing work in Europe. And backstage then had auditions looking for a dancer who had the potential to act. I had no idea about the audition. And then Adele Blank called me, who I respect so much. I see her as an aunt, really. And she said to me, you have to come to this audition. I was like, I can't come to the audition. I'm busy rehearsing for another gig. She said to me, if you don't get here now, there's going to be trouble. And you know how we are with our aunties. We don't want to get into trouble. So off I went to the audition, and I got casted for Charmaine. And I think going into my career and balancing this, having this fine balance between dance and acting for me was an interesting one, because both require your time. I do have to say, though, that dances for me, it's not a career. It's a calling. So when I teach now, I do a lot of development work. I have a program called Life Skills Through Dance, where it's basically using dance as a medium to teach life skills. And to date, about over 5,000 kids have come through my program. It's something I'm passionate about, because I feel like that's my way to pay it forward to my dance teacher, Debbie Turner. If she didn't make the sacrifice, I wouldn't be here. So for me, it's just about, nourishing the next generation. It's about watering the tree, because if someone didn't do that for me, I probably would be a statistic, and that's not what I ever wanted for my life. And so I think that amount of focus and really deciding early on what I wanted and sticking to a plan, even though God's plan was better than what I could have expected, and still continues to be better than what I expect. But my thing with dance is to pay it forward. It's the medium I use to give back.
I think it is brilliant, and for people that don't know, you are an award-winning actress, and so busy with other things, and you still take time to give back, and I think it is such a wonderful thing and says so much about you. Let's speak about Breekpunt. Tell us a little bit about the series.
So Breekpunt is a family show, essentially. I think the thing that brought me to really wanting to do the show was when I got the outline of what it was. It's a family show. And it's a family show that includes many family dynamics. So you'll see the story from the daughter's life. You'll see the story from the perspective of the son's life. You'll see the story from the perspective of the mom and the dad's life, and then the friends and everyone else in that environment. I think what excited me the most about a show as a woman, I'm going to speak from a woman's perspective, is, you know, as wives and as moms, there's always this responsibility of an obedience, so to speak. Like, well, the dad says, no, the kid is not going to do that. And somehow we all have to make peace with that, you know. I'm not saying that that formula is wrong, but I think in this situation, my character, Roz, is challenged with the fact that she can see that her daughter has potential. To her daughter's the next Serena Williams. To her father, it's a waste of time because his dream as a tennis player didn't work out. I mean, his dream as a sportsman didn't work out. And so he's kind of projected that onto his daughter. And the mom can't disagree with him to his face, but finds her own way of materializing her daughter's dreams. And this creates conflict across the board. I think oftentimes women are in this situation where we don't know if we need to choose what our husbands are saying because we're seeing something else. And so it was interesting just on a human element to have to deal with that dynamic. I had to ask myself a lot of questions about where have I, you know, submitted and knew it wasn't the right thing? Because at the end of the day, I'm still first human, right? And then the dynamic of the son, where it's the son's really intelligent. He's like the golden goose of the family, who the dad and the mom place this pressure on the child and who they want him to be rather than who he really is. And we do that as parents. I have an 18 and a 20-year-old. And often we look at who we want our kids to be rather than who our kids truly are. Who are they before we mold and develop this person into a life, a career that they may do for the next 20 years? Like, what is going to fulfill them, make them happy? You know, so much of how we pick careers is based off of what's the monetary income. Now, I'm not saying be an actor. I'm not saying be an artist. It comes with lots of things. To freelance, you have to love this craft. To freelance, you have to love it because it will give you Sahara deserts in a time where you just want to be in the Bahamas. But you pick it, right? I can't ever say that I'm not fulfilled by my work, though. And for me, it's about asking the question, what do you want to bring home after a day of work? Do you want to bring home just a paycheck? Or is the capability, the capacity for you to bring home both the paycheck and fulfillment? And that's what I would like for my life. And that's what I would like for my lives, you know, that fine balance between you got to bring home a sense of fulfillment. It can't just be about paying bills. We know how that life looks.
Yeah, it's not an ideal lifestyle. Lorcia, actors sometimes, especially, and I want to speak about your inspiration for the character of Rosalind in Breekpunt. The actors sometimes take their own trauma and their own issues as inspiration for characters. And you have a different view on that.
I do have a different view. I think, you know, growing up, having quite a hard, often traumatic childhood, there are things as an adult that I have gone to therapy for. There are things I've worked through. There are things that I've resolved. And our bodies don't know the difference when we're playing a role and we're giving to a role, doesn't know the difference between whether it's I'm crying for Rosalind or I'm crying for Lorcia. No. And so I respect and honor my constitution, my body, my mind, my spirit, that I don't open wounds. I don't go to a place where I need to manipulate myself to serve a character. I think that's why I'm so specific about which roles I choose, because the script on Breekpunt is so good. I didn't need to do much. I just needed to, my tool in any kind of acting role is compassion. Somewhere out there, this role will resonate with someone, or it will give them insight, or it will allow them to look at a situation differently, or it'll make them feel not alone. The reason why I act is to serve. I want to serve. I want to allow the story to create some kind of thinking or some kind of shift in mentality. The script was so good, I didn't need to do anything else. And that is how I pick my roles generally, is I look at the script's good, I'm like, cool. So I don't ever want to dishonor or manipulate myself, my trauma. I honor those things. You don't need to go there. If you read that script and you can feel that this is someone else's life, you really don't need to. I feel you don't need to, because again, we're freelancers. We have to work that in a way that works for us. Not everyone can afford therapy after, and I'm not willing to walk around as a shell of myself or half of myself because I had to go dig for something so that I could make a thing work. Then in a year from now won't matter anymore.
Yeah.
I have to honor them as a human first. And I mean, it used to be a very, very widely used modality to access your own emotions, your own pain. I don't subscribe to that system. I need to take care of myself first.
Wow. Lorcia, it has been a privilege to speak to you this morning. Our time's up, but it's been so wonderful to hear more about you, get to know you, and also hear about Breekpunt, new episodes until the 28th of April. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.